that's a really good example of how trends kind of get to the bottom. There's obviously two different theories. There's the trickle-down theory and the trickle-up theory. And the one that she was talking about was definitely the trickle-down, where it starts all at the runway shows and then disperses into the bigger industries. There's obviously also the trickle-up theory, which is a big thing in streetwear. So that already starts with the masses, and then you can start seeing those trends on the runway. But yeah, so there's many different, there's a few different agencies that do trend forecasting. The most famous is WGSN, and they obviously work with like Urban Outfitters, Zara, but they have like these global trend packets that they distribute out to the whole industry. And as we see here, the idea of what constitutes a trend has shifted. It's not just about a look, but about different lifestyles and mindsets that have been turned into marketable concepts. And I think that's the backbone of trend forecasting. It's all about culture, definitely. So yeah, so what is trend forecasting? I think she's a lecturer of trend forecasting said, let me move this 1 second. Oh my God, this is freaking out. Okay, so the art and science of capturing the cultural zeitgeist, which is lifestyle and mindset, and translating that into fashion products and campaigns that consumers will react positively to in the near future. So trend forecasting essentially is analyzing where culture is going, what is happening in culture, and how this will translate into fashion. So a lot of trend forecasting jobs are about, you know, traveling, observing what people are wearing, analyzing history and current political changes. But besides fashion, just WGSN in general also looks at numbers. So how certain things worked in the past. They do a lot of like graph analysis, but they kind of look at everything but fashion also. And then in fashion, trend forecasting is used to choose looks with context and instinct. I'm trying to find the best place to put this. So this is the funnel effect. So obviously the biggest trends are going to be macro trends. Those are the ones that last 5 to 10 years globally. And from macro trends, you can definitely get micro trends as well. Those tend to be smaller and could be considered fads as well. From these trends, themes and stories are created. Color, fabric, silhouette, style, and print also originates from that. And from all of these trend analysis situations, you work with product developers and merchandisers to specify the products to the needs of their target customer. So here are some different research methods and subjects. There's totally many ways of analyzing trends, and obviously things are always evolving. So these are different things that trend forecasters tend to look at. You can look at intuition, curiosity of an overall group. You can look at the numbers, which WGSN does. So that's going to be facts, consumer indicators. You can look at politics, you know, the election that's coming up, housing sales, financial reports, news outlets, a lot of that sort of thing. There's also the observational method. So that's by observing people on the streets. Shopping, going to events, art, music, festivals, street style travel. And I think that's a big part of the trend forecasting job, which is really cool. You know, you travel all around the world and see what different people are wearing in different areas of the world, which definitely translates globally. Also, you can meet with clients, designers, retailers, customers, sales for. That's more on the professional level, just to see what other companies are doing. And then obviously you can do online research, and I think that's the most accessible to students, definitely. So you can, obviously Vogue Runway is a great resource for that. You can keep up to date on current fashion shows, different bookmarks of sites for science, politics, fashion. Instagram is a huge resource for that as well. But again, it's not just looking at fashion. You have to also be aware of what's going on culturally. And then obviously publications and social media. Yeah, so paper magazines, journals, online articles, trade shows, any of that also definitely translates into that. The result of all of this analysis is coming to the conclusion of how the consumer is going to be feeling in 2 years when they walk into a store. Very cool stuff. Perfect. So what is the function of trend forecasting? It's definitely just to provide new knowledge to designers, buyers, and product developers. And this also obviously goes outside of fashion. So that could be marketers, business people as well. With the knowledge of new trends, you can develop new products that will be desirable to the overall consumer market. Obviously, trend forecasting is always looking for new ways to update old products or to extend the life of popular products, you know, giving it a fresh new look that will rejuvenate them. And it helps to deliver the right ideas at the right time. So here, I'm honestly not sure what that means, but Louis Vuitton and the Industrial Revolution, my guess is it started around that time. Don't quote me on that one though. And so the purpose of a trend forecaster and creative director, you collect information, you try to spot a pattern in the information, and that pattern is the trend. And yeah, it's definitely a global career, and it focuses on upcoming trends. A fashion forecaster predicts the lifestyle shifts, colors, fabrics, and styles that will be presented on the runway and in the stores for the upcoming seasons. These are all where trend forecasters could find jobs. You could find a job in trend agencies, so that's WGSN's the biggest. There's also Fashion Snoops. All of those listed right here are going to be different trend agencies. Trend forecasters can also work in advertising, can also work for Pantone. Pantone is a huge resource for trend forecasting because they're even trend forecasters who don't work for Pantone use Pantone color analysis to create trend forecasts. So yeah, so that's another thing. If you're wanting to be ahead of the game, keep up with Pantone so you know what the hot color to wear is going to be. Different retail brands use trend forecasting, Urban Outfitters, Forever 21, Levi's, etc. A lot of fast fashion brands, you know, are kind of at the bottom of the trickle-down theory. Publications like the New York Times and Vogue and any other fashion magazine definitely use trend forecasters. Trend forecasters can also be consultants, so creating customized reports for brands, trade shows, publications, chemical companies, car companies, tech companies, ad agencies, all of that. So I actually have these packets that if you've taken fashion technology, I took it straight from this class, but basically these are what a trend packet would look like. A lot of brands will purchase these before they release their new collection. So I will show you both the men's and women's for spring summer 20. So to kind of take a look at if they were, how accurate they were, and if you think these trends are still going or if they're dying out. I'll show you, yeah, so both women's and men's. So yeah, they listed 4 different categories of what they thought the overall trends of this year was going to be. We have lagom. So that kind of, lagom is a Swedish word, which means not too little, not too much. And it's essentially all about the authenticity and organic trends and everything. So some of the cultural, what's the word, zeitgeist of lagom is listed right here. So the joy of missing out is what they called it. That has to do with the opposite of social media. So kind of in the era of such a social media driven world, the joy of missing out has to do with seeking to be fully present and having very authentic connections with people, or just in general. So kind of rejecting social media, going against the grain, and, you know, kind of going back to the old ways. A second huge part of Lagom is a movement towards greater body positivity. Greater emotional connections, and sustainability is a huge part of this. So definitely taking account what's going on in the environment globally, and really valuing plant-based fabrics, and, you know, valuing local small companies. And then they give you a mood board, they give you color palettes, and then some words that have to do with the trend. They give you patterns that they think will be used in this trend. And then they kind of look at runway. So here you can see the overcoat, the pleated skirt, the maxi dress, baggy pants.
Well, I think you need to update your screen sharing. We're still stuck on the professional trend.
Oh my gosh. Okay, how do I do that?
Probably just stop sharing and start sharing again.
Oh my God, sorry. I'll go over that again. Here we go. Oh my God, that's so annoying you have to do that.
Yes.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Okay, so yeah, so we got 4 different trends here. Lagom, Circuit, Babylon, and Scene. Here are the 4 different cultural aspects to Lagom. Again, it means not too little, not too much, and finding a balance. You have the joy of missing out, increased body positivity, greater emotional connections, and sustainability. Here's the mood board that they put together. And then as you can see here, they have this color palette, very subtle tones, very earthy, kind of invokes a happy feeling, I would say, pretty nostalgic maybe. You have these words that have to do with Lagom style, very organic. They gave you some patterns here of what they think will be very popular this year. And then here's where they look at the runway trends. You have the overcoat, pleated skirts, maxi dresses, baggy pants, a camp shirt, long shorts, which I think is a huge trend still, the sweater dress, and the shirt dress. And then some other styles here. And then they kind of give you a buyer's checklist. So if you are a buyer, you kind of already kind of know what to beeline for at the trade shows that you go to. The next one is Circuit. I believe this is pretty much the complete opposite of Lagom. And something to really pay attention to is that whenever there's one trend, there's going to be a counter trend. So this one is all about mainstream psychedelics, just kind of a very trippy vibe. You have cult culture, immersive experiences, very technologically driven, virtual influences. Lil Michaela is a huge part of this, just literally digital influencers. Here is their mood board for that. Their color palette, very bright, fun, kind of shocking almost. And then, yeah, just very trippy, I would say. Here are some of those patterns and graphics. So tie-dye is one of the biggest parts of this, which I've seen everywhere, which is really interesting to think about. And then here are some of the women's trends under this category. You got the windbreaker, crop top, bike shorts, bra top, slip dress, track pants, so kind of athleisure, I would say, would fit under here. You've got the parka, the camp shirt, relaxed straight leg jeans, bike shorts, and wide leg jeans. And then, yeah, so athleisure is a huge thing. Neons, greens and purples, bike shorts, kind of almost like a collision of, you know, the 80s style with the hippie 70s disco movement. Yeah, Babylon is the next one that they said. For this one, they said future solutions. So kind of looking at the perfect range of challenges with technology, looking at kind of, so they say that the Middle East and North Africa is very fast growing and the center of cultural influence. So that's where they're getting a lot of their styles from. Primitive aesthetics and analog counter-revolution. This is the mood board for that one. And then their color board kind of muted a bit. Yeah, some prints, so very primitive, bit, what's the word? Yeah, like kind of ancient looking, warrior inspired type of prints. Animal print is a huge thing under this trend as well. And then just another few. So I'm seeing a lot of like baggy clothes. I don't know if you guys have noticed, which is really interesting. Talk about that in a second. Yeah, so we got the parka, the sweater dresses showing up again. Cargo pants is part of this one. A lot of embroidery, kind of woven looking fabrics are a part of this one. And then the last one is Scene, and this is definitely based in the 80s. We've got those big shoulders coming in here. But yeah, 80s revival, unfiltered and authentic, return the decadence, and sci-no-fi. I think this one is kind of funny because this is all about going out, and that must have died out by now because of COVID, but it's definitely inspired by like, you know, crazy 80s nights out. Here's the mood board for that one and the color board. This is similar to Circuit. It's a bit trippy as well, but a little bit different. It's a bit more upscale and elegant, I would say. So it's the age of excess, modern, flashy. Here are some patterns for that, kind of very in your face. But this is where the suits with the big shoulders are coming in, high-waisted pants, puff sleeves, slip dresses, everything like that. So yeah, so that was the women's, and then I'm gonna skim through the men's as well. They're pretty much the same trends, they just put different names on them. I'm not really sure why. This one is the sister to Babylon that we just saw. Just wanna show you the men's trends as well. So we've got global parka.
Update the.
Oh gosh. Oh my God. There we go. That's so annoying. Okay. So yeah, the parka, the simple suit, sweater. These very long silhouettes tend to be are really trendy right now. So this one is a part of the Babylon trend for men. So I'll show you that mood board as well. Very similar. Yeah, oh, these excavator jeans are very cool. I love that. And then here's some shoe trends. I didn't show that in the women's one, but we've got the Trek sandal, the sport derby, as they call it, and the low top. So very muted neutral colors as a part of this. And then some male bag trends and accessories. And then I believe this one is the equivalent to Scene, which is the 80s revival one, yeah. So yeah, just coming through. These are a little bit more muted. It's very cool. And then here are some of the men's prints that we're seeing. Got the trench, the club suit, the luster sweater. Again, those very long silhouettes, exaggeratedly long. Yeah. Acid wash jeans, definitely a part of the 80s revival. The moto jacket. Got the loafer, that's definitely huge. Sneaker boot, Chelsea boot. Yeah, this is the Lagome equivalent. For that, we've got the tourister shorts, kind of like that. The oversized polo. A lot of denim in this one, fisherman's jeans. Espadrilles for men are definitely big. Slim high tops, that's interesting. Leather sandals. The weekender bag is definitely trending so hard right now for men. I don't know if you've noticed that. And then the last one is psychotropics. So that's a part of the psychedelics, the trippy one. Yeah, again, very bright, in your face, tie-dye, huge. Pattern contrast, I would say, is a big part of this trend. But yeah, I think that's about it for these. So sets for men is very big. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So this one, I think one of my teachers played this video in a class in the past, but this kind of gives you insight to how trend forecasters actually work in the industry. I will watch the whole thing, but
Pun, to show you the truth about the fashion industry and the amazing people who work in it. In this episode, I'm finding out what a trend forecaster is and trying not to steal things from Paul Smith. Having kept his classic brand relevant for over 45 years, Paul Smith has succeeded where many others have failed. So people in fashion are really sane. At Business HQ in Covent Garden, a young and talented team work under the ever-enthusiastic guidance of the man himself, driving the brand forward into a bright future. What is this room then?
This is spring next year, men's clothes and accessories.
I love this.
Good.
I love that.
And all that. All the
So
colours.
nice. That's my jam, that's my jam.
Peace.
sorry about that.
Start and they leave university or college and then they have this look and then it goes on. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't really change from it. And then that's when it starts to get difficult because,
right.
You know, fashion is about today and tomorrow. You've never made it, basically.
I've always liked the idea of being a buyer. Getting paid to shop with someone else's credit card sounds like a pretty amazing job to me. Our Google results suggested it is now one of the most desirable positions within fashion. But what is it that these mysterious people actually do? At Selfridge's Oxford Street store, Judd Crane is living the dream as director of women's wear and accessories. I'm obsessed with clothes, it's like a problem. You can suggest things for me to buy and I'll tell you I can't afford them. Is this in the sale, be honest?
No, it's brand new.
I just love everything. I just love it. So it's a bit of a mystery to me what your job is. Can you explain what you do?
Well, I guess at a very basic level, we just see things we love and we buy them so that other people can buy them.
And then how do you decide which brands go next to the other one? Do they have rules where some brands might not want to sit alongside another competitor?
Well, everyone has ideas of where they want to be, but
Right.
ultimately what we're interested in is creating an environment for the customer.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we challenge our brands to really think differently about how they could be portrayed. We're a store that has Chanel just directly across from Rick Owens, which you don't really see in many environments.
Yeah.
But for us, the idea of putting those two together is that we actually find it stimulates both of those customers. I actually think the best way to gain experience to be a good buyer is to not become a buyer directly. You know, I think to have a background in visual merchandising or a background actually working with customers. We have a few buyers that have come from personal shopping because they actually get really, really close to what customers want.
It's literally my dream job, I think. But actually, my taste in things isn't reflective of what sells.
That's a really interesting thing about it is it's really interesting to try to force yourself to be objective.
Yeah.
Because it kind of has nothing to do with what you want to wear, in terms of what might sell. However, I think it's so important to have that thing that just hits you emotionally.
Yeah.
Because it will hit other people too.
You're touching on what we're talking about in a broader sense, which is that fashion has a reputation for being like shallow and all about image and but actually when you get to it, the reason people are interested in it, the reason people have jobs within this industry is because it is emotional for everyone. It's about identity, it's about how you feel, it's about creating a persona.
And I think it's really an art form for some people, and you're kind of like expressing things that are intrinsically personal by what you wear.
These are people's lives. Okay.
Exactly.
When innovative thinking and technology combine, new industries are born that change the face of fashion forever. And in the late 90s, trend forecasting did exactly that. Global powerhouse WGSN pioneered the market, turning the potential trends of the future into a highly valuable commodity.
Hello, everyone's looking at asses. Essentially what we're doing is trend forecasting. So we are going around the world looking at all sorts of cultural influences, from street fashion to what's going on in food, cars, whatever it may be, collecting all of that information, presenting it to our customers and using that to kind of set a backdrop for how fashion will develop in the future, because all of those things influence the way people want to dress. So essentially it's a website.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, several thousand brands around the world that subscribe to our website, and they all use it in many and varied ways, and they're looking at fashion trends. So we are designing fashion collections, and they're looking at that. They're looking at catwalks, they're looking at street fashion, they're looking at retail trends. We go around the world and look at what's going on in shops and explain that to people. So really enormous resource for fashion.
If I'm thinking about what's about to happen or how I'd like to get dressed, anything that makes me feel a bit sick or a bit weird is something that I'm drawn to. And then that's usually because it's different to what I'm accustomed to. Often with a Christopher Kane collection, I don't know why him in particular, but it'll come down and I'll be like, I mean, I can appreciate that it's great, but I don't necessarily want to wear it yet. And then suddenly when that season rolls around, I think it's so perfect for how I feel at the time.
It's clever like that. Sometimes I look at some of the things that we do and just think, are we sure about this?
Yeah.
But you trust them, because actually at the time that it's ready to drop, you're ready for it, you know, and you think, oh, no, they're right. Suddenly I feel like wearing that, you know, it's interesting.
This is men's trends.
It's men's trends.
For when?
Spring, summer 17.
Oh my God, okay.
Yeah.
And so where do you collect ideas from?
Everywhere, really. It's not just like one specific area we go to. We look across the board. It's not just fashion. It's like what influences fashion as well. It's like music or subcultures or It Girls, It Guys films, like you said earlier.
The biggest influence on this is partly to do with Cuba, the fashion cycle.
Oh, right, yeah, of course, yeah.
And obviously there's a huge influx of tourism to Cuba.
So then when you see that type of influence on, or in shops and in, you know, the world as you go out, you feel proud?
Yeah, of course.
Cool Cuba.
This is Sam, who is the denim dude.
Hi, how are you doing, dude?
Nice to meet you.
So
Oh
this
my
is the
God,
denim
you
desk.
and your mouses.
Yeah, my sort of denim memorabilia.
Nice. So you're responsible for compiling this entire...
Yeah, everything from like retail I do through to like catwalks, what we're doing right now, which is like the men's SS16 ones. We do trade shows, street style. So obviously, design and stuff, they're looking around on other parts of like the internet as well, but we're doing that like specifically for each category. So I'm looking at everything denim across like Instagram, like Pinterest, Tumblrs, and I'm always looking for like new brands. So like there's some mischief, I'd put them like on the blog as well, which is like our public site, so it's not just like you don't have to have a subscription to that. And then I do like an interview with the brand as well to try and give them like some exposure. So
very good. Okay.
like, brands,
as long as they're looking up.
Yeah.
But there's no way at school I would have known that this was a job option. It's so fun. Do you take interns?
Fashion used to be really top down. It used to be whatever somebody in Paris said it was, that was what it was, you know. And now, you know, it is kids on the street.
Is that from social media as well?
It is. And they are much more influenced peer-to-peer than they would be from what any couture designer would tell them. You know, it's more important what their mates think. It's harder to be that underground because there's always somebody, you know, communicating that and tweeting it and Instagramming it, whatever it is. It gets out there much quicker, so the influence spreads much
But then
quicker.
does that lend itself to the fashion industry kind of moving into a more do-it-yourself, like a DIY situation, rather than it being this elitist thing? Do you think it's an opportunity for people to kind of do a homegrown thing?
I think that's absolutely right. And we were just talking about that. It's almost DIY life right now, you know. If people much younger than me, you know, when I was growing up, you had to get your degree and people were just sort of shoving you in a direction where you had to kind of go to a big organisation and get a proper job, and then people were telling you how to dress. It doesn't work like that now. You know, people don't feel the same constraints. They will decide to create their own careers, and that might be online. They might be bloggers, they might have their own little shop online, they might create their own fashion, create their own music, and they've got means of communicating that to other people that are just not open to us. And you're seeing all these new and interesting designers coming up. It's a real change of guard, I think, at the moment. And I think perhaps maybe we will be looking back and thinking that was when that started.
I can't count, but I think that was episode 4. If you'd like to watch episode 5, subscribe to the British Vogue YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. You guys can still see my screen, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for the activity, I didn't really know how to do this virtually. So what I was going to just have you guys do is just kind of shout out anything at all that you think is trending. And that could be fashion-wise, it could be cultural, it could be literally anything, just like a word, and I'll just write it down on here. And then I'll show you guys the ones that, like 3 that I just picked out. So let's see if I can, okay. All right, who wants to go first?
Oversized.
Oversized, that's a great one.
E-girl, e-boy culture is very trendy in fashion.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that is?
Show on that.
Why do you think that is?
Because like Gen Z and TikTok, I feel like that's just like everyone's online now. So like we're just seeing how everyone's dressing all the time.
Mm-hmm. There's just like an increase in technology usage maybe.
Definitely.
Because of quarantine. Right. And also with the oversized, why do you guys think that is? I mean, that's been trending for a bit, so it can be tied to many different things, but I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
I think a lot more people are not really considering what other people think of them, or at least how they look in their clothes, so they don't need to be, you know, perfectly fitting all the time, and people are just, they want to be comfy. At least that's what I want.
Comfort, especially nowadays. I'd also say the androgynous movement definitely is a huge part of the oversize, kind of hides the figure. I feel like I need to make these smaller. Okay. What else?
I feel like corset tops and like bustier style tops are still kind of popular.
Yes, definitely. So kind of the opposite to oversized. That one's now fitted, structured. Oops, I definitely misspelled that.
I almost feel like it's also combining the two. Like you'll see like a baggy t-shirt with a corset over it.
Definitely.
I've also seen a lot of like monochrome outfits lately, especially like on TikTok.
Definitely. And like, why do you think that is culturally? I think that's like kind of an interesting question. Do you think it comes from stability, maybe like a desire for stability and just like visual harmony, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I've seen, at least on TikTok. Like a lot of people would just say like, oh, if you want something very like simplistic yet really like classy and like elegant, just go for a monochrome look.
That's definitely very true. So like culturally, what are some of the, like what's the mentality, would you say?
Culturally, I'm not entirely sure, but I know like definitely in different cultures, like different colors are more prominent, if that makes any sense. And so I think like when we pick like the color, I don't know, like at least in like America, I think like white is a very like staple like piece in like fashion, obviously. So I think like if people put like a monochrome look together and it's white, it's very like, oh, like you're very like put together and like clean, because that's how like we view it as a culture.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. I think something else that we could put down would be like what's going on globally, like fires are happening, you know, the environment's falling apart. We got the pandemic. What else? We have riots, political unrest. Like all of these are going to be things that you want to put down, because you have to think about what are people thinking of right now. So with the pandemic, you could draw the conclusion that people have been indoors because of that. People are going to want more comfort clothes, so you're going to definitely see a lot more sweatsuits, a lot of like baggy, shapeless, just things that you can throw on that's still cool. So that's kind of like how I think trend forecasters approach this. In terms of people are going to want, so something that you can think of with the political unrest is going to be people are craving nostalgia. People kind of miss old times. So I think because of that, the Y2K trend is huge right now, because people kind of miss their childhood, you know, things were a lot better then than they were now, if you think about it like that. So that's kind of like how I think you should kind of go about this. So like Y2K, that makes sense. But yeah, any other ideas?
I would say a lot of worn clothing. Like there's been a lot of thrift flipping and whatnot, especially for sustainability purposes.
Yeah, sustainability is huge. Like upcycling. Yeah, totally agree with that one. And I think that's only getting bigger. I think sustainability is gonna go from being a trend to just being like a requirement for a brand, especially because of the environment right now and how shit it is. Sorry, excuse my French. But yeah, great. That's a great point.
I think another one I would add is like collaboration. I know it's been like obviously a thing in fashion for forever, but I think a lot of companies are realizing that it's really lucrative for them to get into fashion and just like put their name on something. And I think we've seen that like more often now than ever.
Yeah, I totally agree. And some could argue that that comes from, you know, the pandemic. Like people are wanting more connections and want to hang out with people and do things with people because they were isolated for so long. So I think collaboration is only going to get bigger. Totally agree. You can also think of some counter trends because with everybody wearing a lot of like comfortable dressed down clothing, I think maybe in the next 2 years, we're going to see a huge influx on like being super extra, over the top, you know, especially when kind of clubs come back and like people can go out and do things again. Then we're going to see a lot of like flashy, just, you know, wanting to be the center of attention, I think you could say. But yeah, a lot of, so like a counter trend to like the nostalgia and the Y2K and the 70s and 80s looks, you could think really super modern, super contemporary, very sleek, chic. So I think that's kind of how it works. Yeah, any other ideas? Trying to see you guys better. All right. So we have like 10 minutes left. I only have like 3 more things on here, just like stuff we already talked about. So wait, let me go back to present. Yeah, so comfort, like we talked about, we're seeing it on the runway, we're seeing it on the street, we're seeing it in just like regular fast fashion. That's Danielle Guizio on Instagram. So yeah, I think this is just going to get bigger. It's going to be kind of a staple to have cool sweatshirts. It already is because of streetwear, but you know, it's only going to get more mainstream, I would say. sneakers, very casual looks. Minimal, maximal, those are going to be the counter trends. So again, you're going to see very extra and you're going to see very simple. That's definitely because of the cultural unrest. And then the last one is going to be sustainable and organic, kind of, and that kind of goes off the legume trend too. This is a theory jacket. This is from Reformation. This is a really cool Instagram. You guys should check them out. They're called Sex Fifth Avenue instead of Saks Fifth Avenue. And they like upcycle a bunch of different designer stuff, or just like they deconstruct and reconstruct items. Super cool. And then this is Rua Carlotta. And this is a huge trend we're seeing right now with that like serge patchwork kind of outfits. So everyone's doing it pretty much. See it a lot on Depop too. And that kind of comes from that sustainable upcycling trend. But yeah, that is the end of that. Does anyone have anything to add?
I honestly think this whole upcycling thing is gonna be the blueprint for like the coming century, because we all know these landfills are filling up with t-shirts that no one freaking wears, and artists are just gonna start realizing that more and more, and they're gonna start creating these upcycled pieces that are just completely extraordinary, and like we would have never thought of this stuff. And I'm really excited to see all that happen.
Totally agree. Yeah.
My major sustainability, by the way, so just to like add on to that, I definitely think that's something that's going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think even like I saw that the secondhand market is going to grow at double the rate as the fast fashion industry in the next decade. So
yeah. And sustainability has already bounced back, even with like the economical unrest that was happening. A lot of companies failed, whatever, but sustainability is still going strong. A lot of secondhand stores are still, you know, because originally I thought people were going to be put off from thrifting because of the super, you know, COVID neuroticism. But in reality, because people have lost their jobs, you know, they don't have as much money to spend, people are actually turning to thrifting more than they were before. So I think sustainability is just a huge, huge, huge trend in fashion, and it's not going to be a trend anymore. It's just going to be its whole subsection. But yeah,